Oh my goodness, and Tim Omlu goes over a tenth of a second fast.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Formula Trout League. This is round 8 of the Challenger Series, well, the Premier Series Challenger Split at Monza. We are currently in the dying minutes of qualifying. 4 minutes on the clock. Currently on provisional pole is Jaap Wagenvoort, who is some of you may recognise from our Sprint Series, but he has come to the Premier Series for the first time in a very long time, and he is definitely one to watch out for here. I am Alex Cochran, joined by Case Willems. Hello, Case.
Hey, Alex. Good to be back again.
To here. So, yeah, it's an interesting race we've got on our hands today with one of the, probably one of the most experienced drivers in Formula Trout League, but I don't think he's done any Premier Series races, not since it's been the Premier Series at least. Back in the day, going back to Season 1, Season 2, this Premier Series used to be called, well, different things. I don't even think it was called Premier Hybrid Series, because we didn't even use hybrid cars back then. It was different. F3 was in the Premier Series as such, and I think Jaap was maybe even there. Oh, there's a car off there. I think that was one of the Amorim. Yeah, that was Amorim there, which went off. He raced back then, but yeah, he's not been in the Premier Series in many seasons. But those who've watched Sprint know how fast Jaap is, fighting for the championships, fighting for wins constantly. One of the fastest drivers in the F317 in the world. So, on pole at the moment, 2 minutes 30 seconds to go. We'll have to see how he stacks up in the results in the race. P2 is Kamishov. P3, Ivan. Darian Shikloven. So our championship leader, Shikloven, in P4 currently. 2 minutes 20 seconds remaining here at Monza. It's not the longest lap in the world, so the drivers will be able to do quite a few outlaps, quite quick outlap I should say, and leave just at the end as Kamishov improves. Ooh, wow, look at that. 19.945 for Wagenvoort and Kamishov. So, I don't know if it's Wagenvoort or Wagenvoort. I'm going to say Wagenvoort. You'll know, Case. How do you pronounce his name correctly?
Jaap Wagenvoort.
Wagenvoort will do. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so both P1 P2 having exactly the same lap times now. Although 1 minute 30 remaining, grip will be coming down. We ride on board with Ivan as he starts his lap. Yeah, so he's starting his lap on his outlap now. I imagine he will get this final lap. I don't think the back. Oh, it's Darian Shikloven goes fastest actually. So I said someone might beat it. Shikloven, the championship leader, 119.74. Oh, as Ivan locks up into turn 1, cuts the chicane. That will be his lap over. He might be able to get around and do another if he has the fuel in the car, if he can keep the battery charged. Not what he wanted to do into turn 1 there. Woodward sets a personal best, in fact, of all, including quali. Goes 5th with a 121.056, so 121 flat, essentially. Not a bad lap time there at all. Lets the traffic through. I think that's James K. But that's how Wagenvoort as well is back on track. He will be definitely going to beat his time. He set a 119.945 when the grip was a bit lower. Can he go faster? I'm sure he probably will with the more grippier track. But yeah, it's a very different car to what Jaap is used to driving. He's used to driving, you know, low power, relatively low power, still much more than a lot of our road cars that a lot of us drive every day. But, you know, for a race car, compared to this low power, maybe a quarter of the power of these Formula Alpha VRC hybrid cars, and a lot less downforce, although it might not feel like it because you are going a bit slower. We'll see what he can do in this different machinery as he starts his lap. I think that's Kamishov right behind him, so Hopefully won't disrupt this lap at all. Clean into turn 1. The apex is nice, spinning the wheels up on entry, but keeps it in the straight line through the Curva Grande. Easy flat in a car like this. Not even a question. The second chicane brakes at 100 meters, gets the car in. You don't want to hit the big sausage curbs here and spin you around, put you in the gravel on the outside. Avoid them breaking into the first Lesmo, tight, running right onto the curb. Second Lesmo, carry a lot more speed than you think, but you can easily pendulum the car around on the exit and end up in the inside wall. Keeps it clean through there, not a bad lap so far. DRS down this straight into Ascari, the car bouncing around all over as he runs wide, locks the outside tyre, runs a little wide on entry but cleans it up on the exit, but that'll have cost him a lot through there. That exit is so important. Namorim goes 7th fastest with a 21.4 and he backs out of the lap. I think that's Ivan behind. Yeah, Ivan behind was just on his lap as well. He's Wagenbort's backed out of it after making that mistake. We'll see what Ivan can do. Well, he improves 120.1, but not enough of an improvement to get him up there. So Darian Shkloven on pole with a 119.7. Championship leader on pole once again, and I don't want to say the rookie to Premier Series because he's definitely been here before, but essentially the rookie with how long he's been out of the Premier Series. Wagenbort P2 is a great job there for the golf racing team. Kamishov P3, Ivan P4, Adam Woodward in P5, Cyprian Stoyan in P6, Bruno Amorim in P7, Carter Jackson P8, James K P9, and Andy Moreno in P10. Rounds out the top 10 for qualifying. Now, I think everyone was on the C4 tyres for qualifying, although it looks like Kamishov may have been on the C5s there, which would have been rare to see because I don't think we've seen C5s this season in quali, although a track like this you can kind of get away with the lower degradation because it's only really braking zones and low speed corners.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if live timing was correct or not, but I think I might have seen a few on C3, so that might also just be people already switching to their race setup. But yeah, there were definitely a few on C5. I think that the C5 for qualifying definitely, it doesn't overheat as quickly compared to other tracks. You've just got to crank up the pressure so it doesn't overheat too quickly still anyway. And be careful, especially on Parabolica, that you don't run it wide there because that's usually the corner where it will overheat the likeliest. But yeah, definitely really interesting to see. Yeah, Wagenfurt and Dmitry Kamishov qualifying on the same lap time of 1:19.945. Yeah, so on the calendar now, onto Monza. I hope we don't get a repeat of the Challenger split start from season 8. I believe it had to be restarted only once. I believe, yeah, it was a massive pile-up at turn 1, as is pretty much usual for this track. So I hope we won't have to do that again this race. So let's see how this will get on.
Yeah, I was going to say, fearsome turn 1 here at Monza. We'll see how the field can get through it. Lights are starting to come on now for the first of 35 laps here in Italy. 6 lights are illuminated. And away they go. Not a bad start for Darian, not a bad start for Wagenbort alongside. Not the best camera angles here at Monza. There we are. Field coming into the tricky turn 1. Darian. Oh, there's a car off in the background. I was going to say Darian was clear through there. Wagenbort behind. And there's a car riding right over the top. I don't know who that was. I think it was Amorim. Most of the field seems to be through okay, but we'll focus our eyes back on the front. Cloven in the lead. Wagenbort stays in P2. Ivan P3. Kamishov under pressure from Woodward in P5. Yes, that was Amorim. Flew over the top of another car there. A big crash involving a few cars there. I don't know who that was. Don't know if you can find out who that was for me, Case. It was a very large...
Yeah, I think definitely a start. I believe that was Bruno Amorim flying over the top of a car. And then also again at turn 4 and 5, yeah. My panel was full of crash notifications, so it was definitely a mess.
Yeah, car got T-boned at the second chicane there. Huge damage for who was involved. I hope they continue okay, but looks like race directors said continue on. This will be the start, and the field is already quite spaced out here at Monza. It's, you know, Slipstream battles is kind of the name of the game, and that seems to be forming already. Chikloven keeps the lead on the first lap. Wagenvort keeps P2, and Ivan, as Chikloven runs wide at turn 1, cuts the chicane, backs off to give the time advantage, give the time up, but will that cost him? Yap has a run on him into the slipstream round Curva Grande. Surely Chikloven will defend the inside, stays on the inside. Wagenvort pulls on the inside of the second chicane, brakes a little bit later and just does not give him the space. But can Chikloven come back at him? Yes, he can. Into the second Lesmo, Chikloven on the inside. Can Wagenvort hold it round the outside? Still alongside into the second Lesmo, and Wagenvort holds onto the lead after... Ivan into the barriers there. Caught out a little bit, but great move from Wagenvort. But Ivan in the background just caught up in their battle and made a little bit of a mistake. Wagenvort, fantastic move to... obviously Darian made the mistake. Wagenvort capitalised on it. Thought Darian would have that back, and then, just so much aggression, so much confidence just to hold the car around the outside of the Lesmo and hold the position into the second Lesmo. Unfortunate for Ivan, he's still in P4, but he did take a trip into the gravel there in that second Lesmo, and that has cost him. I don't know if he went into the barriers or not, but will not have helped his race. Meanwhile, Kamishov benefits from his teammates' misfortune, pulls up into P3, into the podium positions. Wagenvort locking up this time into turn 1, but keeps it on the road. Big snap of oversteer for Kamishov there. But Wagenvort in the lead now on lap 3. I spoke too soon. I said Chikloven had kept the position on that lap, and he hadn't. But he's closing here into the second chicane again. Wagenvort excellent positioning to defend from the championship leader. Wagenvort in his first race here in these VRC Formula Alpha cars, and already making a mark, doing a great job leading here at Monza.
Yeah, it's definitely a great job. I've been enjoying these first 3 laps so far. Like, wow, that they were going side by side through the curve of the Lesbos was really, really impressive for someone who hasn't driven these cars in a long while. Meanwhile, I noticed that Bruno Amon has crashed into Variante Ascari, so his race definitely not going as it'd like to be. I think he may have either a lot of damage or he has already pitted. Currently a few seconds behind Alessio Faccini, I think, if I say it correctly. Not sure if he's Italian or not, or what his nationality is, but yeah, definitely hasn't been a great start for Amorim. Meanwhile, Sekolovian still trying to keep up with Wagenvort. This is definitely going to be a really, really good battle for the whole race. Let's hope this will continue for the rest of the race as well. Will be really exciting.
Yeah, definitely DRS is enabled now. We're on lap 4 of 35, so down that start-finish straight, DRS will be enabled, and the exit of the Lesmos will also be the extra assistance of DRS to get the cars close together. Wagenvort defends the inside into the second chicane here. Darian closing up there round the Curva Grande. Darian spins out on the exit. I was going to say Wagenvort made the mistake, but Chikloven just loses the rear on the exit. I wonder if he was thrown off by Wagenvort's little slide, but that's dropped Chikloven down to P3. Challenging for P1, drops down to P3, 2.5 behind Kamishov. Disaster for Darian there. Unfortunate, because he seemed to just drop the rear under acceleration in a corner where, the exit of the second chicane, you can be quite confident with the throttle. It's quite a surprisingly high speed exit that you can straight line, so very unfortunate to see for Chikloven's sake, but Wagenvort out in front, starts P2, gets the lead on lap 2, and then by lap 4, 1.8 second gap to Kamishov. Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah, though unfortunately, I believe already currently for the top 6, none of them are within the DRS range, so they won't be able to get that extra boost to try and get up into the positions.
Yeah, as you say, DRS is enabled, but not many of the cars here. Andy Moreno has it on his teammate Knowles, but is not close enough to be able to make a move. I think Knowles might have had it on Stoyan in front as well. You can often see here at Monza, find here at Monza, you get the notorious DRS trains where you get a bunch of cars with DRS. No one can really pass each other because the advantage of it is negated, and the only real advantage is slipstreaming. That's often not enough be able to pass in cars like this. as Ficini so close through Curva Grande there on Leslie Peters on the outside in the second chicane. Can he hold it? Yes, he does. Shuts the door on Peters there. Very confident from Ficini. Good move into P11. See if he can find his way back up the field into the points. 5.8 seconds to Imran Sheikh ahead. Watch that gap, but out in front, Wagenvort is maintaining that gap on Kamishov. Only just, though. I think he has lost a little bit of time to Kamishov that lap. But, yeah, well, roughly a 10th, but, you know, safe as it is, he doesn't have the DRS yet, and I'm sure he's aware of that gap, though. Only lap 6 of 35, a lot to go. Amorim, who you said was in multiple incidents early on, has just exiting the pit lane, having been lapped already, so tough for him. But here is the DRS train we were talking about, now featuring Woodward, Stoyan, Knowles and Moreno, all stuck together with that DRS, but no one able to overtake. Everyone kind of being, you know, the advantage is just meaningless when everyone has it, and Woodward just able to stay in front of Stoyan there, has a little extra gap as he has a wobble on the entry to the chicane. Knowles runs wide as well there. A thing that I was about to bring up, but unfortunately before Shikloven had his incident, Shikloven closed up so much around the Curva Grande, and now there's no DRS through there, and it's easy flat for both cars. So I'm wondering if Shikloven was running lower aero than Wagenvort. Maybe Wagenvort was running, you know, maybe a click more rear wing, a click more gurney flap on the rear just to keep it stable, but that allowed Darien to get closer through that Curva Grande and challenge for the mistake. As Woodward runs wide there, challenge for the mistake. No, Woodward makes the mistake. Through Ascari, allows Stoyan to get so close, looks to the inside, and I think Stoyan here, playing the game, backs off before Parabolica to be able to get the DRS. Shikloven comes into the pits very early actually, so not happy with his car, not happy with his tyres. But meanwhile, Stoyan in P6, right behind Woodward here, has the DRS, having backed off the straight before on the inside into turn 1. In front before the corner's even there. Can he go for the switchback? No. Great move for Stoyan, but it's not over yet. Woodward might be able to come back at him. Didn't have the worst exit out of turn 1, and this second chicane. Follow through the Curva Grande, get the slingshot through there, and then into the second chicane, chuck it down the inside. He's not close enough. He goes around the outside and just breaks a little late, goes a little deep, has to give the position back, and in the process, unfortunately for Woodward, loses the position to Knowles and Moreno as well. It just gets it wrong into that second chicane, and as he found, well, as you can find with these DRS trains, when cars are locked together like that, you get shuffled to the back of this train, and now it's his job to get back up into that P4, which Stoyan has now taken. But up there, actually, Knowles is now challenging Stoyan as well, so Knowles... Maybe Stoyan is now the one at risk from Knowles. He is now heading this DRS train. Is he able to stay in front? Now, Stoyan, you know, very, very experienced in Formula Trout. He is a Challenger Split champion here. Very distinguished driver, having attended an incredible number of races now for almost the whole history. As Stoyan and Knowles go completely off track there. Sure, we won't mention that. But Stoyan is on the inside. Knowles closing up. Very close, gets alongside, bit of argy-bargy in the braking zone, and somehow, as Knowles loses the rear. I was going to say, somehow they went side by side through that first chicane, but then unfortunately, Knowles just lost the rear. I don't know if it was because of the contact or if he just lost the rear, but that unsettled Stoyan, it looks like, and here comes Moreno into the second chicane. Stoyan defends the inside. I was saying all that experience. Stoyan defends the inside, knows what's coming after he had that poor exit out of the first corner and holds on to that P4, but how long can he hold on to that P4? Shikloven, who just pitted actually, has come out in P9. He's just 3/10 behind Imran Sheikh there. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure why he pitted. I don't know if you have any information on that for us, Case, because he just, I don't know, he was running P4 kind of okay and pitted down to P9.
Moment, I believe Darren Shikloven, yeah, he has pitted, I believe, about a lap or 2 or 1 ago.
Yeah, it was an unusual pit stop because it's very early. He's on the
Yeah, he pitted a lap ago. He's now currently on C3s. I think
Yeah,
also
yellow
started
bar
on
C3s.
C3. So yeah.
A two-stop, clearly. No way he's getting to the end on those tyres. And it was a very early pit stop, too. Made his way past Imran Sheikh there into P8, but he's got a long way to go to get back up into those podium positions. And he's a championship leader, of course, so we're expecting him usually get those good results. He's often found himself further back earlier on in the race, but then he crawls his way up the field, just, quietly, methodically making those moves when they count, and ends up, podium or the win, even from quite far back. But up in front, Jaap Wagenbart said he was managing that gap. It's now 2.2 seconds, so started to pull away a little bit from Kamishov. Yeah, he's doing a great job out there in his first Premier Series race in quite some time. I keep saying his first Premier Series race. It is basically his first Premier Series race. His usual stomping ground is the Sprint Series, but statistically it's not his first Premier Series race. But I'll keep saying it is first Premier Series. In its current incarnation.
I think his F317 talents are definitely really showing, especially with obviously how different these cars are. I believe if Jaap Wagenbart was doing a hybrid series at the time, I think this was an F1 2016, so completely different game, completely different physics, and completely different car as well. So really impressive, yeah.
Going for a bit of a Trout history thing here. I believe it was season 1. What we class as season 1 was the first race, the first series of Formula Trout League on Assetto Corsa. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was in the Lotus Exos. I believe. And I know Jaap raced in that and did quite well in that, having won a few rounds. I'm going to check now, actually.
Let me see.
Don't want to miss too much action, but when I check the standings in our archive here... no, I was wrong, and this will work for Jaap's favour. The first round of the Formula Trout League, what is now the Premier Series, however, then was just Formula Trout League Season 1. We didn't have the Sprint Series at the time. That was in the Dallara F312, which is one of Jaap's favourite cars. As I said, he's one of the fastest guys in the world in those Dallara F312, F317 Formula 3 cars. Very, very fast, very good racer in those Formula 3 machines. And yeah, he finished second in that season against Maxi Younger, our 4-time champion in Formula Trout. He was only 1 point behind Maxi, having only completed in half the season. So that can clearly show you the skill that Wagenbart has in those cars. But yeah, season 2. Can we have a look here? It was season 2. Sorry, the standings just got a bit messed up there. I thought Wagenbart lost the lead for a moment, but no, the standings are just confused. Yeah, the standings are very confused. Apparently they swap positions again, but that is not the case. Please ignore. But yeah, so it's not strictly Jaap's first race in the Premier Series, but it's the first race since it's been called the Premier Series, and he has done very well in the Sprint Series before this. So yeah, he's putting that experience, putting that skill to good use. Although that gap has come down a little bit. 1.8 now, 4-5 tenths. Kamishov managed to close. That can obviously change so quickly. Only one lockup, one little mistake and lose that time. But that was 5 tenths that lap for Kamishov. Off up a little bit, 22.7 personal best for Kamishov that time around. He bounces into turn 1, while Wagenbart locks up into turn 1.
I think we are starting to now slowly get towards the pit window for the CT tires, about lap 12, lap 15, 16 maybe. So I think we might see quite a few people pitting soon. We currently only have one, two. Ooh.
Sorry, just the slide from Wagenbart locked the rears into that second chicane, held onto it perfectly, but that has put Kamishov just 5 tenths behind Jaap there. So very well held, but it's going to put him under pressure. Kamishov's going to have the DRS on this short straight now. DRS opens on his wing. Please continue what you were saying. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I was just looking at what tire everyone's on. So I've noticed that Adam Woodward, I think, according to my information, is actually started on the C2 tire. So I think he will do C2, C3. I think that's possible. Maybe try to extend it a bit more. Maybe try for the C4s with the higher pressure. But a bit more extra grip at the end. So Dmitry Kamyshev is now really closing in into Wagenvoort. Otherwise, we've got Imran Shaikh who started on the C4s. Carter Jackson who has already pitted for C2s. Jim Kay back on C3s. Already Bruno Moore on the C1s. So I think he pitted again. I think he was on C3s, now on C1s again, trying to go to the end of the race. So that definitely interferes to meet Kamyshev with a bit deep into turn 1. I think, yeah, he's lost about 1.5 tenths now, but though he still had the DRS.
Ooh, look at the car bouncing through Curva Grande there. The porpoising usually not too much of an issue nowadays, but yeah, the Kamyshev and the Griffin Red struggling there. Probably won't affect the time too much, but it can affect your concentration levels a little bit. But I was saying just a lap ago, one mistake can lose you 5-6 tenths. One mistake from Wagenvoort there cost him almost a second and put him right into, well, put Kamyshev right into the DRS range. He's managed to pull away again, 0.9 now as we get to the second DRS. Kamyshev will close here because he has that just within the DRS, but can he keep up? Great Ascari for Wagenvoort, and that puts Kamyshev 1.1 behind, so should make Wagenvoort safe now from the attack from Kamyshev with the DRS. But one more mistake and we could see that change completely once again. And as you say, very good point, pit stops will be coming soon, usually around a third distance. Just over a third distance is when cars like to pit. Yeah, Kamyshev could go for that one lap earlier pit stops, try to get that undercut on Wagenvoort. Wagenvoort actually setting a personal best that time round, so maybe using a bit extra charge just to get outside of that DRS range. Ivan, actually, who had that incident near the start and dropped back after running P2, P3, he has pitted earlier than Kamyshev and Wagenvoort. He was only 3-4 seconds behind the pair at the front. And this early pit stop onto the C2 tyres as he's swarming them in the pit lane. I don't know how much that'll do, but fair enough, fair to try it. We'll see what he can do. Comes out the pit lane P7, but we'll have to watch the lap times. He might be able to undercut both the front runners there if he gets it right. And if these guys are not paying attention, these guys are in a race of their own, of course. And wouldn't be difficult to just, neglect to observe Ivan behind and get undercut by, well, let Ivan undercut the pair of them. We'll see though, I feel like one of them might react, if not both of them react, just to keep it safe. I think the C2 should go to the end of the race now, 20 laps or so, and not the highest deg around here. But Kamyshev is actually within DRS once again, but I think Wagenvoort's coming into the pits now. Both cars coming into the pits. Now Kamyshev got that pit limiter dead on and is right behind Wagenvoort. Will ride on board with Kamyshev through the pit lane, because I have a feeling that we might see position swap in the pit lane, swapping in their boxes perfectly. The boxes right next to each other and the pit stops absolutely identical, but as they exit the pit lane, Kamyshev's going to be right behind and might have the ability to make a move into turn 1 if he is feeling brave, or is he following the pit lane exit lines. Goes to the outside to get the best exit possible. Cold C2 tyres for both the drivers here. Big wiggle for Wagenvoort on the exit of turn 1, but he's held it through there. Can he hold the position into turn 3 into the second chicane? Goes to the inside to defend from Kamyshev and does hold that position. So Wagenvoort holds on to P1. But for how much longer? Can he hold on for how much longer? Shkloven, meanwhile, who we said pitted earlier, is just 1.2 seconds behind this pair. He is on the C3 tyres, I believe, so he will have to pit again, but he might start interfering with this fight. He's only 0.9 behind, actually, so he is on a charge on those C3s, but obviously he's going to have to pit again if he is on those C3s to satisfy the rules. You need to run 2 different compounds. P1, P2, P3, all separated less than 1.5 seconds here. Go on, Case, sorry.
Yeah, my bad. Meanwhile, I noticed Cyprian Stoyan and Andy Moreno were having a near similar scenario with Wagenvoort the Kamyshev in the pit lane, nearly right behind each other, though Andy Moreno actually made up the place to Cyprian. I believe Cyprian might have had a bit of damage to repair, Both drivers now on the C2 tires, as Darren Siglovin trying to look down the inside of the
Ooh,
meeting
loses the
Kamishov.
rear.
Lost the rears.
Very lucky for Kamishov there. I thought Shiklovin lost the rear in the braking zone. Wasn't really close enough to make that move. Wasn't confident enough on the brakes, I didn't think. And yeah, he locked the rears quite early on, and Kamishov was very lucky not to be just wiped out by the out of control Shiklovin there. But Shiklovin on these C3 tyres, the speed he's got over the pair at the front is clearly evident here. You know, he's not a slow driver. He was fighting with this pair at the start of the race, and on these C3 tyres, he does look like the faster of the pair in front, but he's going to have to pit earlier on. Later on, I should say. So yeah, Wagenbart is actually 1.1 seconds clear of Kamishov. They exited the pits within a second of each other, but he's pulled just outside of DRS range again. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. That gap is coming down on this straight, but not down enough. I think he will be safe this time around. Meanwhile, Kamishov might not be safe from Darian. Darian had the DRS last time, went for the move, unfortunately locked the rears and nearly took out Kamishov in the process. Manages to keep both on the track. Kamishov goes to the inside this time. Cloven on the outside on the C3 tyres. Wow, round the outside of turn 1, round that chicane. Fantastic move there on the tyre advantage. Just allows him to brake so much later. Just leave him room on the inside, it doesn't even matter. He's back through, but Kamishov, meanwhile, right behind, tries to get the position back. Not close enough. This is a bit of a disaster for Kamishov, actually, because Kamishov's going to now be in the dirty air of Shiklovin. And he's trying to race Wagenbart in front, who's on the same strategy. Although, you know, Shiklovin may end up catching Wagenbart here and might actually pull Kamishov along if he can be lucky, but I doubt it. Shiklovin is that much faster on these C3 tyres at the moment.
Yeah, though I think they definitely won't last as long as he may want to. Siglovian pitted 10 laps ago, so lap 9. I think he may get this to about 25 to 30 laps of this race. After that, maybe do a short stint on the C4 tires to get as much time as he can after that. So I think that I'm just gonna guess he may go on the C4s at the later third of this race.
Oh, Shiklovin in the pits again, actually. As we just switched to Knowles, who's going to have DRS on Peters here. Easy move into the... Oh, as Peters squeezes him down the straight. Quite dangerous there, I will actually say. Knowles gets the move done, but that could have been a huge crash. Knowles through into P8. Peters down into P9. But yeah, up in front, Shiklovin comes into the pits just as we were discussing when he would maybe pit. So he's on the C2s now. Doesn't want to do the two stop with the C3, C3, C4. He's decided on, I'll just do C3, C3, C2 half distance, which I suppose could work, but that's put him 15 seconds behind Ivan in front. And Ivan doesn't have to pit again. Kamishov doesn't have to pit again. Wagenbart doesn't have to pit again. So he's going to have to close that 15-second gap. You know, 20-second gap to the car in P1. Just on pace.
I think maybe that lockup from earlier, maybe a lot of you might incidents of maybe locking up somewhere else you might have not seen with Darian early on from the race that might have ruined his C3's tire life a bit. Maybe they were already feeling a bit worse than he might have already wanted. So yeah, I think that's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it was shaping up to be an interesting race with Shiklovin getting involved in that battle for the lead there. That actually put... Oh, Kamishov... Oh, I think Kamishov just had a half spin as he comes into the pit lane. Kamishov into the pits after only pitting just a few laps ago. Do you have any notifications on an incident?
Yeah, I noticed he crashed into some wall and into some other object about 140 kilometers an hour. So I'm not sure if he either had an incident through the parabolica or he maybe had an incident through, I forgot the coordinate variant Ascari. So
yeah,
it's already in the pit long. Wow.
Huge impact on the race here. That's put Shiklovin into P4 after having just pitted himself. And yeah, very long pit stop. He must have damage. Unfortunate for Kamishov, but I can only say if it's a mistake from his own, just disaster for his race. We've seen Kamishov make a few crucial mistakes this season so far. Unfortunately, has put him back down the pack. And yeah, Kamishov running P2 right behind Wagenvort, challenging for the win, makes one mistake, and that's put him down to P8. We'll have to see where he ends up. 16 laps to go, 16 laps to make positions back up. He's on the C3 tyre, I think, so I'm going to hope to take those to the end, but yeah, that's his podium hopes ruined, I think, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Ivan, that puts him into P2 as he's actually going for the move on Woodward here, who is yet to pit. Or I think Woodward's actually pitted, but pitted onto the C1s, so we'll be going for the long haul, it seems, on those blue wall tyres. So Ivan into P2 now. He's 6-7 seconds behind Wagenvort. Oh, 10 seconds behind Wagenvort, I should say, in front. So Wagenvort, in his first race in the Premier Series, as it is called now, doing a fantastic job in P1. No mistakes so far. Well, no major mistakes that have cost him positions. And yeah, he took the lead lap 2 and he's just held there. Very well done. Meanwhile, Shiklovin, the championship leader, Kamishov, one of the championship contenders, both making mistakes, both having to drive recovery drives.
Yes, I think meanwhile it's definitely interesting to see this battle going on between Cyprian Story and Andy Moreno. Now I've seen multiple notifications coming by of them going a bit more argy-bargy than they may both would like. I'm not sure if they I think they might have also had a bit of extra time. Yeah, Cyprian already had a bit of longer time. Actually, that's Cyprian Story trying to go for a look down the inside of turn 4, not really able to do anything about it though. Maybe a bit better exit. Bit loose on the rear there. Let's see what they can do through the Lesmo. Still going quite close as Cyprian Story tried to look down the inside, but still not really able to go. And the
Very
quick
aggressive
now
driving here.
Have the DRS, yeah.
Must be an easy move now with the DRS. He follows right behind down the straight, pulls to the inside for Ascari. But wow, somehow Moreno holds on there. I thought Cyprian would be straight through, but yeah, well held for Moreno. Holds in front. Cyprian was being very aggressive through the Lesmos, trying to unsettle Moreno, you know, looking to the inside, didn't have any intention of an overtake, no chance you can overtake through that second Lesmo, but yeah, it did not work. Kind of compromised his exit there as well for the second Lesmo, and then wasn't able to make the move. I wonder if he ran out of battery as he got down the straight, because that was a move for sure, I was convinced, and then yeah, Moreno just held it round the outside of Ascari. Great defense, great confidence there. Cyprian is going to have to fight for that place on the following lap. If he can, he's 9/10 behind now, actually.
Yeah, like you said, I think his ERS must be quite low because he had the DRS on the main straight, but he wasn't even really gaining as much, maybe only like 1 or 2 tenths of a second. So I think he's quite low in ERS, or maybe just charging up the battery, maybe waiting for Moreno to make a mistake, trying to stay within the DRS zone to charge up his ERS and maybe try for an attack again into Varianta Ascari. Let's hope it goes well this time.
Yeah, I mean, you say he was waiting for a mistake, but he was being so aggressive through the Lesmos, looking to the inside, trying to force the mistake, and Moreno didn't fall for it, but this time around, Stoian has the DRS again. Moreno does not have to defend at all this time. Well, he didn't defend last time, held it around the outside, but Stoian doesn't have the gap to, the lack of gap. Moreno doesn't have the gap to be able to need to defend, but Kamishov behind, having pitted due to damage, is right behind Stoian, looks to the inside through Ascari. Don't know who's going to have the DRS. Well, they're going to both have the DRS because Moreno in front, but Kamishov nearly getting into contact with Stoian. He's surely going to be able to make the move with that tyre advantage Kamishov has now, having pitted early to the inside down the straight. Stoian tucks in behind, and yeah, so Kamishov straight through. Now his eyes are going to be on Moreno in front, and Woodward, who just pitted actually, having ran a very... he was running the alternate strategy, of course. You noted that earlier on, Case. He was running the alternate strategy. He is now just 1 second in front of this pair. Meanwhile, Kamishov is overtaking Moreno now, so with that tyre advantage... Ooh. Saying with that tyre advantage, he's able to make the overtakes easily, but Moreno getting passed by Stoian. So Kamishov made a little error. I think Moreno backed out of the throttle in reaction, and that has allowed Stoian to make the move on Moreno finally. Knowles behind, actually. Moreno's teammate is now looking for the move on his teammate. Goes to the outside and was close enough to be able to make the move earlier on. earlier before the corner. I wonder if Moreno got damage, or I'm not sure, because that move was very, very easy for his teammate. But
Yeah, I believe
Kamshov,
on
P5.
entry of the first Lesbo, Cyprian and Moreno had a bit of contact, so maybe Moreno got a bit damage that maybe cost that may have cost us.
But Stoyan defends off the track again. Been doing that a few laps now. Not really allowed to do that, but whatever. Knowles to the inside, so close to the front wing there. Knowles with the DRS makes the move before the corner. Stoyan wiggling around behind him to try and throw him off, but Knowles holds on, ran a little deep, but manages to keep the position. Well, no overtake even, I should say. He was so close to his front wing as well on the straight. I thought we were going to see them crash. But,
yeah, and interestingly, William Knowles on the C4 tires actually, he pitted about 7 laps ago, so I don't remember the tire that he started on. I think C3, if I'm correct. So definitely an interesting strategy. Those tires will definitely not be going on until the end of this race, unless he's got some magic hands. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting strategy from Knowles.
Yeah, definitely. And Kamshov, Kamshov, who's on the alternate, well, not the alternate strategy. Oh, as Woodward runs wide. I was going to say Kamshov on the different strategy after making that mistake earlier on. Looked like Kamshov was going to have to follow through down this straight and get the DRS, but Woodward made the mistake through Ascari side by side into Parabolica, but able to hold on. But how long can he hold on for? Kamshov will have the DRS down this start-finish straight. Massive drag reduction for Kamshov. Meanwhile, Woodward is just a sitting duck on the straight. Kamshov is through, and I imagine he'll hold on. He doesn't have fresher tyres, I don't think, actually. I believe Woodward pitted later, and they're actually on the same tyres now because Woodward was running the alternate strategy. Yeah, so very similar tyre life for these two drivers, actually, but Kamshov, who was, fighting for the lead in the early stages of the race, able to make the move on Woodward pretty easily, as Woodward made the mistake through Ascari, ran a little wide, and yeah, gave that position up to Kamshov, one of the championship contenders. But don't rule Woodward out. Kamshov only needs to make another little mistake, and that could bring Woodward right back into it. While just behind, Stoyan, Knowles and Moreno have spread out a little bit. 2.5, 1.9. Yeah, the gap is much bigger than it was before, so I think the natural order of pace has kind of been decided with all those incidents, and those gaps are just going to increase slowly, I'm sure. Although, as you say, I think you said Knowles was on the C4, and Knowles could start to experience quite a lot of degradation because those C4s are significantly softer than the C3s and the C2s. They're not exactly a race tyre, and to be on them with over 10 laps to go is quite a brave move there for Knowles. Kamshov on those fresh C3s though, setting the fastest lap of the race, 121.6 in P4. So he's recovered nicely to P4 to say, but he's still 21 seconds behind Shiklovan, so a huge gap, and I doubt he's going to be able to bring that down unless Shiklovan makes a mistake. Same goes for Wagenbach, a 10-second gap to Ivan. That gap's kind of stayed the same, but he doesn't really need to push. He can just manage that gap, manage the pace, and 10 seconds is a very, very comfortable gap to react to pit stops, react to incidents, and gives you a bit of a buffer if you're making mistakes yourself, as I'm sure Wagenbach won't, actually, because he's such an experienced driver. Here in Florida Trout. Yeah, he's doing a great job so far in the lead of the race. Great signing for the golf racing team for sure. I'm sure Kilgore will be very, very happy. He's convinced Yap into the Premier Series, into the Challenger Split, and he's leading the race at his first time out. Home with a 21.9 that time around, so a little faster than Wagenbach, 6-7 tenths faster, but with a 30-second gap, 20-second gap. I don't think he's going to be able to get that down with only in 10 laps. He needs to increase that pace difference by around 3 times. Just in front of Wagenbach here are 2 cars on different laps. I believe that is Amorim trying to unlap himself. I'm not sure if you can tell me who that is, Case.
I believe this is I can see Imran Shaikh and Bruno Moore. They both have the blue indicator, so I think they both lapped cars. So yeah, I think, yeah.
You're well noted. Yeah, that's Imran Shaikh, P10, Bruno Amorim, in P13, right behind him. Now he looks like he's the faster car at this part of the race, but he's a lap down on Imran, so he's trying to unlap himself. Doesn't have the DRS for whatever reason. Meanwhile, Wagenvort, the race leader, is right behind this too. As Amorim actually does let him by, so good of Amorim to do that. I'm sure he was very aware the leader was catching him. Yeah, has now let Wagenvort by. Blue flags can be quite annoying to navigate when you're the leader of the race, and Wagenvort will be happy he's moved out of the way. Ooh, was a miscommunication there as Sheikh moves out the way for Wagenvort, and Bruno Amorim tried to capitalise on that and make the move on, well, unlap himself to Sheikh, but wasn't able to. Kamishov and Shiklovan are actually kind of trading fastest laps here. Shiklovan last time out, I think that was a 21-2, I think, for Shiklovan. Kamishov with a 21-3. So Shiklovan now sets fastest lap. Similar pace from both of them, and they're both closing on the cars in front, but with 7-8 laps remaining, probably not enough of a pace differential to be able to make any inroads on able to attack them at the car in front. Moreno, meanwhile, is actually caught back up to Cyprian Stoyan after they were all shuffled around when Kamishov was coming through. This is the closest battle on track at the moment. We'll have the DRS into the second DRS straight after the second Lesmo. Moreno quite cautious through the second Lesmo there, actually, losing a lot of time to Stoyan in front. He was within a second easily, but he dropped just out there. He has the DRS because the detection point is actually before. It's a line before the second Lesmo, so you can get it even if you drop behind, you know, onto the straight through the exit. But you're not going to be able to make an overtake if you make that. If you are that cautious, because you need to get the launch, the slingshot out of the corner to be able to use the DRS to your advantage and make the overtake, which Moreno was not able to do, having dropped behind quite a lot there. Short shifting as well. I don't know if he's got damage or he's saving fuel, but still a little faster than Stoyan, but could be faster, I think, overall. I'm surprised. To Jackson, that we've not seen much of this race, having a bit of a quiet race in a P8 at the moment. Just set a personal best, but yeah, kind of just in a race of his own. 6 seconds to the next closest car in front, 9 seconds the car behind. Managing the pace, not a bad points finish for Jackson. P8, I'm sure no one would say no to P8, but quiet race here for the BAC Racing driver. Knowles behind, who pitted, he was the one that was on the C4s. He's now on the C2s, I think. The C3s? I'm very confused. Let's cycle through the Alps. Tires. He is on the C4s, my mistake. So he's on the C4s again, running a strategy. It's definitely a strategy. C3, C4, C4, I think this is. So he'll be actually closing on Jackson in front with that tyre advantage, but for how long will he be closing? The C4s are a quali tyre, essentially. They drop off very fast. But clearly Knowles feels confident in running them, hopes he can bring the gap down to Jackson in front. 8 seconds this time around. 24.697 for Jackson in P8, for Knowles in P9. He does a 122.5, so that is actually 2 seconds a lap faster. The gap is around 7 seconds, so 3 or 4 laps. Might be able to overtake by the end of the race, but that's only if those C4, those sticky soft C4 tyres can hang on till then. While Moreno in P7, still just behind Stoyan, but not close enough to be a major threat to Stoyan, just kind of managing to keep that gap to around 1 second, 1.2. No DRS Moreno. Thought he would have the DRS again, but yeah, he must just be being that little bit more cautious through the Lesmos. Maybe the car's rear is just a bit looser isn't able to get the DRS, isn't able to get that advantage. But 21.3 for Kamishov in P4, recovering after that mistake, having to pit again, setting fastest lap of the race in the process. P4 plus fastest lap, not a bad haul of points, but Shkloven, P3, the championship leader, and who was earlier on in the season direct championship rival with Kamishov, Shkloven. It's still less points than Shkloven, so not ideal if he wanted to close that gap down, you know, put a string of P1, P1, P1 to try get himself back in that championship fight. We're in the tail end of the season now, round 8 of 12 in the Premier Series. Yeah, Wagenvort in P1 still managing that gap with ease. 9 seconds to Ivan behind. 22.6, I think. 22.6 for Ivan as well, so very, very close, if not identical lap times at the end of the day, essentially, and the gap is staying roughly the same. Shkloven behind is closing on Ivan, but 4 laps to go. I don't think he'll have the advantage to catch by the end of the race. And actually, the gaps all over the field have all extended. Moreno's dropped 1.8 behind Stoyan now, so well out of the DRS. Kamishov setting another 21.4 this time, so a little slower, but real great lap times there for the Griffin Red driver, but the mistake, nothing he can really do. Woodward behind, personal best 22.8. Again, another driver in no man's land. Car in front's pulling away from him. He's pulling away from the car behind, and kind of a bit lonely drive. Knowles, who I talked about on the C4s, is just 2 seconds behind Jackson now, so I said he would be able to catch if the tyres hung on, and it looks like the tyres are hanging on as they go. We'll probably switch to him shortly, I imagine. Amorim, who we saw earlier on, who was trying to unlap himself on Shake, is actually just 0.5 behind James Kay here. So James Kay's been caught in some kind of incident because he was much further up the road. Amorim's, you know, very fast driver, part of the team which won the championship, the Constructors' Championship, a couple of seasons ago. Goes to the outside of Kay. Ooh, looks the rear, holds on. Just as he gets to the turning point, holds on to the rear of the car, keeps it in a straight line, but is not able to make the move on Kay in front. Through Curva Grande, is he able to close in? Looks to the... no, he doesn't look to the inside, just kind of holds on. No chance of making the move there. Close through the Lesmos again, but as I said before, you can't really pass through these corners. You can follow, you can try to distract the driver in front, but the exit through Lesmo 2 is the important part, and Amorim does get that great exit. He'll have the DRS. Hey, guards the inside, but can't do anything as Bruno Amorim with that DRS bounces into Ascari, bounces past Kay, and makes the overtake. Meanwhile, I think that's who is this? It's Ivan, sorry. Ivan right behind there, almost getting caught up between the battle between Amorim and Peters, and Knowles is through on Jackson. So I said if the tyres held on, he could overtake, and the tyres did hold on. Knowles brought that gap, that 8+ second gap, down over the last few laps. Has made the move on Jackson. So Jackson was having a bit of a lonely race. Not so lonely now, but when the tyres are old and you know, the car you're battling is on brand new C4s, essentially, it can be difficult to defend, as Jackson has found out, and has unfortunately for him dropped down to P9. I'm sure Knowles does not mind getting that position in P8. 2 laps to go, and those C4s should be okay to continue. Maybe not at the fastest pace, but they'll hold on, I'm sure.
Yes, I believe I just noticed that Andy Moreno's had might get a penalty for illegally using DRS. I see lap 29, zone 2. So that, okay.
Yeah, it's always interesting to know. Unfortunately, a limitation of the simulator, the limitation of Assetto Corsa is we can't really apply penalties live to the standings. So, at the end of the race, you know, we can read the results to you, but there's penalties for pit lane speeding. There's penalties for cutting the pit lane entry and exit lines. That's a 5-second penalty. The DRS, as you say, can be a penalty. Well, is a penalty too if you use it when you're not supposed to. And yeah, all those get totaled up and added to the end of race, your time, and you can drop positions because of that. But unfortunately, we can't apply them live. But, oh, was Wagenfahrt laps? I think that was James K. No, it wasn't. That was Peters, I think,
Peters.
actually. Yeah. So, yeah.
So in terms of DRS penalties for this race, as far as I can see, it's not too bad, actually. Just Alessio Facchini, lap 1, zone 2. And as I just mentioned, Andy Moreno on lap 29, zone 2. A lot of DRS messages from Bruno Moore when he was speeding in pit lane. So that might just be a small bug. So I'm not sure there's not a penalty coming his way or not. The stewards will have to check it out. But yeah, in terms of DRS penalties for Monza, not too bad, I'd have to say.
Yeah, we've definitely improved from many seasons ago when you used to see maybe 10, 20 DRS penalties for 20 different drivers in one race. It was not the best. Made collating the results quite difficult, but yeah, not a bad showing here from the Challengers drivers. You say Facchini had a penalty. Unfortunately, I believe he's retired from the race because he's been sat in the pit lane for an incredibly long time now, and I don't think he'd be classified even if he does cross the finish line.
Yeah, since lap 25 I can see it.
Yeah, so Facchini is out of the race, unfortunately. You'd have to complete at least 28 laps here. It's 80% distance to be classified, so even if he set off now, he would get not classified, which is quite rare, but as it stands, he'll get the DNF. The did not finish classification, or not classification, the result, I suppose. But meanwhile... Sorry?
I said he beat you to it.
Yeah. But yeah, Wagenfahrt here in P1, final lap of the race, has had a pretty commanding drive here. I don't know what to say, really. As long as he holds on for these next few corners, don't want to jinx him, of course, commentator's curse, but done an absolutely fantastic job. Qualified P2, made an overtake for the lead, and has just held on throughout. No mistakes at all. Yeah, pulled an 8-second gap on Ivan behind. Comes down the last straight here, approaching Parabolica. Ivan just coming through, Ascari in the distance, but Jaap Wagenfahrt in his first race in the Premier Series for the Gulf Racing Team wins the Italian Grand Prix with a fantastic drive. Kilgore, I'm sure, will be very, very happy that his new signing has taken the win here. Ivan in P2, Shiklovan recovers to P3, Amashov 17 seconds down on Shiklovan after that mistake, not able to make any inroads on Shiklovan, having made that mistake earlier on. He does have fastest lap at the moment though, comes round Parabolica to take P4. Jake, Amorim, Peters and Kay have already crossed the finish line. Facchini did not leave the pit lane, so he will receive a DNF. Unfortunately, Woodward rounds Parabolica for quite a good P5 for Woodward there, running the alternate strategy C2 to C3 and takes P5. Had great pace throughout, so great job there for Adam Woodward. Stoian, meanwhile, is 20 seconds behind, but will actually just switch to Moreno here, who is right behind his teammate, just 5/10 as they come into Parabolica. Don't know if Knowles made a mistake. But are they swap position? No. Maybe they have, I don't know. Stoian in P6, Knowles in P7. Moreno crosses in P8 behind his teammate. Jackson will be the final driver to cross the line after a bit of a lonely race for the BAC Racing driver. Crosses in P9 for a... doesn't round out the points. Imran Sheikh rounds out the points in P10. Winner, Jaap Wagenfahrt, with, as I said before, a fantastic drive for him in the first round here. A great signing for the Gulf Racing Club, it is. Not the Gulf Racing Team, it's the Gulf Racing Club. Sorry, I missed out on the pun. I didn't even realise that. But yeah, fantastic job there. We will just switch to the interview thing. Hopefully we'll get it this week, because we didn't last week. The schedule has changed now. We used to hold two-part quali for the Master Split race, but we've changed that due to schedule and conflicts, and now we have the interviews have returned once again. Yeah, in Challenger Split, but we missed out last time. No one, no one wanted an interview. But we'll see if we can get someone in this time. Aha! And someone I want here most of all. Yap. Fantastic job out there today. Your first race in the Premier Series, your first race in the Formula Alpha cars. Win. Great job. How was that for you? If you can hear us. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hello.
Hello, guys.
I don't know if you got any of that, but fantastic job. Qualified P2, overtook for the lead on lap 2 and just held on to it for the rest of the race. Can't really say anything more from that from my side. How was it for you?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what to expect, Alex. Cyprian just called me 2 days ago. Would you like to race? And I said I've never ever driven this car before, so it was quite a steep learning curve. I had no expectations. Just try to finish the race, keep it steady, stay out of trouble. Yeah, and it worked. So I'm really happy for my team, and I really have to thank all the guys from the team, especially the Frog. He helped me a lot, and Cyprian as well. So that helped a lot. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I mean it's a really great job. Obviously, you've had so many seasons in the Dallara F312, the F317, the lower Formula cars, and in that experience has obviously helped you in the racing. But those cars don't have DRS, they don't have the ERS, the battery. How was that transition for you to get used to those different controls you have to use all the time?
Yeah, crazy, man. The Dallara has no no gizmos at all. Sorry, I even got tested positive for COVID today, so that was also adding to it today.
Oh, I'm
But,
sorry to hear that. Well, it clearly didn't affect you in the race. You did a great job.
I'm doing fine, but I'm just coughing a little bit. No, the transition it couldn't be bigger. It's pushing so many buttons, and you have to think about so many things. Tires, the energy management. It was quite overwhelming, but I did a lot of testing yesterday, and like I said, the guys helped me a lot, and well, yeah, worked out. So finally, I can say that I also can drive these cars. So it's been a while, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So as a fellow Monza Premier Series winner, how are you looking forward to the next one at Hockenheim?
I don't even know the schedule, man. Cyprian, I just feel like Nick de Vries, just be asked to drive, be unprepared, and just jump in and do your best. Yeah, but I must say I really enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to do some more racing, but I have to talk with the team about it. So Hockenheim is a good track. I like it as well. So who knows?
Yeah, as long as you have the blue curbs.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly.
So I hope to see you in many Premier Series races to come. It was a great debut here, and yeah, thank you, Yap, for the interview.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And wish you good health as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye. Now we have Darian Chikloven coming for an interview, which is nice to see. P3 after a good recovery drive. Darian, welcome to the interview channel. How was that for you? Bit of a recovery drive after that unfortunate earlier incident and the odd strategy as well. Just talk us through what happened there.
Well, it really is a shame. Could have won this one, but I had to mess it up somehow, right? I mean, still a podium at the end, so come on, I'm happy.
Yeah, you pulled a
Not
big
happy with
gap
the
on
teammates.
Kamishov, but I saw you pitted quite early on onto the C3s twice and then pitted again
Got
onto the
damage.
C2s later on. Was it damage?
Indeed, yeah, it was heavy damage. I was like, I ran for like 2 laps on that, and I was like, fuck it, I'm losing like 2 seconds. I can't do this. My battery's gone. I don't want to give the car behind me the advantage. So I just pitted, made a split-second decision, and I should have done a different thing, but oh well.
It was a bit of a shame to see because you were mixing it up with the leads after your first pit stop again. So we thought maybe you could get back into it, build the gap back up. But you pitted once again. The start wasn't too bad for you, but then Yap got through. I think it was on lap 2. Was the contact with Yap, or was it just a bit of argy-bargy here and there, and you just decided to pit?
I honestly don't know. I gotta think this through. The teammate really underperformed this time. That's all I'm thinking about right now. Sorry
is
for
it-
not answering the question. It's
No,
just that
no,
I'm
it's-
very disappointed in the results.
It's fine. It's obviously always tough when a result doesn't go your way. I mean, P3 is still, good for the championship. You're still the championship leader. You extended the gap on Stowe and you extended the gap on Kamishov. So that championship lead is still there, very strong, and you improved it, of course. So not all bad. Podium is not the worst result
Yeah.
you could hope for, I'm sure.
Definitely good for what happened, but I'm just thinking about constructors right now.
Yeah, fair point. It is a very,
have to
very
do it.
close battle between Griffin Red and Younger Academy, is it?
Younger Junior.
Younger
Younger
Junior.
GP Junior.
Apologies. Yeah, it's
No problem. Just-
something we've actually kind of neglected to talk about on the stream, but I think it's only a few points between you two, and yeah, you've been doing a
speaking
great
of
job.
points,
Go on.
how many points is it? Because I don't know exactly. Do you have
I
a-
can get that up for you right now because we were looking at
Well,
that in the middle of
at the
the
moment,
race.
174 points goes towards Griffin Gaming Red, and Younger GP Junior trail with 153.
That's not even close.
So I mean, it's 21 points. No, 22 points. No, yeah, 21 points.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
man.
like a first place, and they
Yeah,
are both.
it can
That's
go
not
either
close.
way. It can go either way. It can go either way. So yeah, and there's still 4 races to go.
True.
Yeah,
We'll
very
see how it
interesting.
goes.
I wouldn't rule out Golf Racing Club just yet. Mathematically, they're still in it.
Oh well, I mean, with your new signing, Kilgore,
Well,
I'm sure
yeah,
you're hoping.
might help. He might just help.
Anyway, though, thanks for racing, Darren. Good job getting back into the podium after the damage, and yeah, good job extending that championship lead, even if you're not completely happy with the result.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah. So that seems to round out everyone that would like an interview. I will now have to shoot off to get ready for the Master Split race myself. Stick around, the stream will be up for the Master Split race shortly. Thank you for viewing. I was Alex Cochran, joined by Case Phillips.
Cheers.